Hey everybody, Kyle Sasser here, realtor with Keller Williams St. Petersburg, and it's your favorite time of the month. That's right, market statistics time. If you remember from last month, basically I left it with things seemed like they were going to be changing a little bit of a fluid situation with the pandemic and all that. We were still trying to decide as a state if, well, and a city, as a matter of fact, if we were actually going to take steps for social distancing, closing down beaches, restaurants, and all that stuff. These market statistics, they come out a month late. So this report is from all listings and transactions from March 2020. And I'm going to go over the numbers, don't you worry, because they are important. But I want to show you something that most realtors are not looking at, as well as most real estate professionals, that could potentially have a huge impact on the real estate market for the rest of the year, to be honest. So be sure to hang out until the end of the video. So we're in April 2020 now, and obviously, we're in the middle of social distancing. Restaurants are closed, a lot of businesses are closed, retail shops. What these numbers are primarily sales numbers. So just remember that these sales were actually started in February before there was any inclination, really. I mean, a few of us knew that, there could potentially be something big on the horizon. But by and large, February basically went as normal. So because a real estate transaction takes about a month or so to complete, these numbers are still very positive. Median sales price is up 8.3% to $287,000. Number of closed sales was up 3.7% to 1,223. And the average sales price was up 6.2% to $364,000. So those are very positive numbers. Definitely shows that the real estate market was strong for March closings. Median time to contract across all price points had dropped 30% to 21 days, which is very short. That means that homes were only staying actively for sale on average for 21 days before they went under contract, which that is bold. So that's the completed sales numbers, and those are definitely positive. It shows that in February, a lot of offers were being made, contracts were being accepted, and contracts coming to completion. Now, the next few things are where you start to see the impacts of the social distancing and all that. So the number of new pending sales was down 32% to 1,000. So that is the number of homes that have a contract on them but have not closed yet. The number of those was down 31% from the previous year. That is a significant number. Now, the number of new listings was down 5.7%, and that doesn't sound too bad, but I want to go a little bit more in depth on that a little bit later on, because I've been tracking things much more quickly than the realtor organizations have been producing numbers. I've actually been going and manually getting the numbers myself, just because I want to know what's coming in the market so that I can properly advise my clients. So be sure to stay to the end, because I'm going to go into the daily new listing numbers. It's staggering what's happened in the last few weeks. Overall for March, the total number of new listings was down 5.7%, which is not good if you're a buyer because there's fewer homes on the market. But that's basically in keeping with the trend for the previous few years. There was 23% fewer homes in March 2020 than there were in March 2019. That is a significant reduction. And that really paints the picture for what those big numbers I'm going to be painting on the daily reports that I've created myself. And then the month supply of inventory, which is basically a metric just to get a rough gauge for how the market is doing. The month supply of inventory basically just says that if no new homes were to come on the market at this period in time, with the current rate of sales, how many months would there be homes available to purchase? And that number is down 26.7% to 2.2. One thing I do want to explain about these statistics is the way that we gauge them. So the numbers by themselves are not very useful. When they become useful is when we can take them and compare them to previous years, so we know kind of how we're doing in the market. Now, you might be asking yourself, why don't we compare month to month if these are March 2020 numbers? why don't we compare them to February 2020 numbers? And the reason why is because in the course of a year, over those 12 months, there's a natural ebb and flow with the real estate market. So obviously, if we were up north, where it snows, not a lot of people are buying or selling homes when there's 6 feet of snow on the ground. So you naturally have this course during the year. Here in Florida, a lot of it rotates around the school year as well as when the snowbirds come down from up north. Our winters down here are actually pretty good, but really the beginning and end of the school years are kind of low points of the year. And then the rest of it's pretty high with there's definitely some peaks around springtime. Just people are looking for a fresh start. So you can see there by looking at those numbers, and you have to take it in context with what's going on currently. Because just looking at those sales numbers, you would think that this is all continuing as it had been for the previous few years. But the fact that new pending sales, pending inventory, and the total number of active inventory is all hugely down. A third. We have lost a third of inventory of new listings coming on the market compared to 1 year previously. And I can tell you personally from my experience, I have many sellers that they were ready to go. We were literally 2 to 3 weeks from listing, and I called them to follow up once all this stuff started happening. And they're like, hey, we're in that at-risk demographic and not really feeling too comfortable with putting our property up for sale right now. So we're going to hold off and wait until this shakes out, but keep in contact with us. And that's happening over and over and over again. We know that the market statistics put out by the realtor organizations generally trails behind by a month. Now, what I've been doing is I've been going to the MLS each and every day, and I have been pulling numbers directly out of the MLS every day, as well as historical data. So let me show this information to you here. So this is combined for Pinellas and Hillsborough counties, and this is the number of new listings for each and every day. And I needed to correlate them by the day of the week because there's a natural ebb and flow over the course of a week with when new listings come on the market. So I correlated those, and I went back 15 years to 2005. And then so far as dates go, I went all the way back to March 10th is when I have all of the information. We compared the number of new listings that have come on the market in the last 7 days to 2009. We can see that there are 40% fewer homes being put up for sale in the entire Tampa Bay area compared to 1 year ago. Compared to 2 years ago, we have 46% fewer. And this is over a 7-day period. If we look at a 2-week period, then we can see that the difference is 43% and 46%. And you can see that this holds through the majority of the time frame. Even the quote-unquote bad years of 2010, 2011, 2009, we can see that the number of new listings compared to those years, we are 22% fewer listings, 12% fewer listings, 37% fewer listings. These are significant numbers. There's not a lot of people who are putting their home up for sale currently. So the last number here, this is total difference. So this is the comparison for all of the information I have all the way back to March 10th. And we can see for that we're off 26%. If you remember early March, honestly, the state, local municipalities were still kind of figuring out what exactly they wanted to do. The quarantine and the social distancing and stuff like that hadn't really taken effect or taken hold. And we can see the difference here between the last 2 weeks and the total difference. This is over a month now. We've had a 26% drop. And then over the last 2 weeks, we've had a 43% drop because it's really taken effect here in basically since, I would say, early April. If we look at the actual numbers here, we can see that back in March, we were having 140 new listings that day, 150 new listings that day, 190 that day. The year previous, we had 150, 140. And you can see that most weekdays, we've had over 100 listings. Currently, though, we're currently at 80 listings, 58 listings, 95 listings. So that's where the difference is coming from. Now, it absolutely makes sense. To me, this is structured a lot like a hurricane. So whenever Irma came through, we definitely saw a drastic reduction in the number of new listings during that time period. Now, as soon as Irma passed and things opened up again, we saw those numbers rebound rapidly. And honestly, I think that's what's going to happen in this case. So we're down 43% currently. But whenever, we relax the social distancing stuff, whenever people relax a little bit, we're going to see those listing numbers jump back up. So if you want to be one of the few houses on the market, now is going to be the time to do it. These numbers are combined, both Pinellas and Hillsborough County, because I do sell homes on both sides of the bay. A lot of people will complain and they'll be like, oh, well, those numbers are useless because you're combining those together. You need to split those up into Pinellas and Hillsborough County. Well, if I split it up into Hillsborough and Pinellas County, then why not split it up into cities? Saint Petersburg definitely sells a lot different than Safety Harbor does, I can tell you. So the other trade-off with this is loans are a little bit more difficult to get nowadays. Lenders are being a little bit more risk adverse. They're trying to protect their capital, so loans are a little bit harder to come by. And that's the one thing I always try to tell everybody. It's always a trade-off. It's never a clear-cut anything. With whatever state the market is in, there's always pluses and minuses for both sides of the transaction, for both buyers and sellers. So loans are a little bit harder to come by. Some other stuff that I know that's going on, VA loans are currently taking quite a bit longer than usual to complete. Just there is a very big backlog of those, which is offset by the fact that you can now qualify for a much larger VA loan, which is cool. But in the current state of things, it's taking a lot longer for those to process. So see, it's always a trade-off there. So these numbers, I put these numbers together because I wanted to know where the market was heading. And this is information that's not really going to show up on the statistics report until May 20th. So unless you've been actively following these numbers, you're not going to know. Now, it's definitely strange because usually real estate moves very slowly until it doesn't. And by that I mean it doesn't usually move by large leaps and bounds until some major event, such as a hurricane, or in this case, a pandemic, happens. And then you start seeing very significant data like this showing up. So what does this mean for you? If you are able to sell currently, then there is absolutely an opportunity to be had here. We are at record sales prices. Prices are higher than they have ever been. And we're also at crazy low inventory. So there's not a lot of competition out there. The flip side is there's not as many buyers, but if ever there was an opportunity to take advantage of limited competition, this is it. If you are in one of the high-risk demographics, which please go look and review the CDC guidelines and see if you are in one of the high-risk demographics for coronavirus. If you are, then please, by all means, do what is best and makes you comfortable. If you're not comfortable putting your house up for sale currently, then by all means don't. I promise you the real estate market will be here whenever all this stuff is over. You'll still be able to sell a house, I promise. I can't say where the price is going to be just because nobody knows how long this is going to take to resolve. But rest assured, it'll be there, and there's going to be a great realtor here who's ready and willing to help you sell your house as quickly as possible, and of course for the most money. But if you are comfortable with listing your house currently, with the state that the market is in, with a very low amount of homes available for sale, people are still buying homes, I can promise you. Like I've gotten multiple calls today from people looking to buy. And with those record high prices and limited competition, that is a golden opportunity to get a house sold very rapidly. We do have some protocols that we have put into place to help mitigate the risk of transferring coronavirus, both for the seller as well as for the buyer and agents as well. I know, like, I don't want to get sick. First off, we don't do open houses anymore. Honestly, all the sites shut down open house listings. And so you can't even find open houses on Zillow or Trulia. And honestly, the MLS took that section away as well, so we can't even schedule them. So there's no open houses, so you're not going to have a lot of people coming through the house at once. So far as showing goes, the first thing that I do, at least, is that I do a thorough job of screening the buyer, because we really don't want a tire kicker or someone who's unsure someone who is not going to be able to buy the house, someone who is basically just trying to get a feel for the neighborhood, you can get a feel for the neighborhood by driving the neighborhood and looking at pictures. The only thing that makes sense with current conditions is to only have people coming into the house for showings that would actually be willing to make an offer on that house within 48 hours. Like, they have to be, if the house ticks all the boxes, then they need to be ready to put an offer in. So we make sure that that's the case. Everyone that comes in the house, either agents or buyers, all of them need gloves as well as protective masks of some sort. Now, obviously, there's a shortage of N95 masks, so it might be a face covering or one of the hand sewn ones, or just a surgical mask. Maybe even bandanas. I've seen a couple people come in with those. It's just something to limit that transmission possibility. With those mitigation facts, that eliminates a lot of the risk potential from the current situation. And I can tell you, real estate transactions are still happening. Inspectors are still going out and inspecting properties. Appraisers are still going out and appraising properties. Contractors are still going out and doing repairs or updates or giving estimates and stuff like that. Realtors are definitely still showing and listing houses. I can promise you. Title companies are still open. One of the interesting things they're doing, so instead of the big to-do, which is kind of a bummer if you like a little bit of pomp and circumstance, but so title companies, you can do either mobile notarizations where someone can come meet you, and you can do your disinfectant routine, wash the hands, and they're very limited exposure and risk. Another option is drive-through signings. I know the title company my wife works at, they offer that. So basically, you sign everything that you can electronically. If you have any questions about the documentation or anything like that, of course, you can make phone calls and ask and all that stuff. And then for the few documents that might need a actual wet signature on paper, you schedule an appointment, you come through, the title representative comes out with a clipboard, you sign all the documents right there, hand the clipboard back, and that's that. The third thing that they can do, which now only a few title companies can do this, and my wife's title company is one of them because they're awesome. But it's called remote online notarization. And what that is basically you can sign all the documents at your home or wherever you're at, and all you need is basically some sort of video camera or conferencing where you can meet face-to-face virtually with a notary to accomplish the signing of those documents. It's very cool. So it's technically possible to completely conduct a home selling or a home buying operation without actually having to meet anybody face to face. So very, very cool. If you're not comfortable with the risk, if it's not a good fit, if you'd rather wait, that's perfectly fine. As I said, the real estate market's going to be here when all this resolves. And I promise you, God willing, that I will be here as well to help you along in the process. So that's kind of what's going on in the market. If you would like to receive these reports emailed to you, I'd be happy to do that. You can hit the contact button down below. There should be a sign up there where you can you'll receive these market statistics as soon as I get them. If you would like me to help you either purchase or sell a home, I would, of course, be happy to do that. You can reach me directly at 813-323-7396, or you can give me a call at kyle@sassergroup.com. Going to put a link to that below, as well as like a contact link if you'd rather just go there. Feel free to leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think that the impact of all this is going to have long-term on the real estate market. And other than that, I'm Kyle Sasser, Realtor, Keller Williams, Saint Petersburg. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.